Hey guys, welcome to Code Decode. Today in this video, we will be looking into a very strong AI coding agent which sits into your system and works as if you are working in the system, and that is Codex for you. So welcome to the world of Codex. We have already covered Claude Code, which was again one of the AI coding agent, and now this is an introduction to another coding agent, that is Codex. Now in this world where AI is developing and emerging so quickly, AI coding tools evolved very fast. We started with simple autocomplete and assistants like Tab9. Then came AI chat assistants like ChatGPT's UI interface, where you copy paste your code and then get the suggestion and then paste it into your workspace, where the chat interface does not have any access to your local environment. You have to come out of your IntelliJ, paste your data and outputs and everything into your browser, get the response, go back to your local environment. So this is how you as a developer has to context switch between your local IDE and the browser. So that is where there comes coding agents who sits into your system and code as if you are coding into the system. So in this video, we are going to explore one such coding agent, that is Codex. Trust me, if you would have seen the Claude Codes video, this Codex is far more cheaper, readily available, a bit slow, but a very good solution. I would agree to the fact that Codex is more generic and do every stuff that you can do generally, while Claude is more towards deep thinking, more towards coding. And that is why I say Codex is a model which is trained differently. Claude Code is a model which is trained differently. And that is where, when I show you the demo, you will see the difference. Now let's quickly cover the theory, which is the last thing I would ever like. What is Codex? Codex is a coding agent designed to work directly in your local development system environment. Now, unlike your browser chats, it understands your repository, it edits file, it run command, debug and create test cases, fix your issues just like a developer. And it is not just a code generation, it is an execution of multiple stuff. You give a request, you give bug, you give whatever. It analyzes whole project, modifies the files in those projects, executes the commands, validates, and continuously do all those stuff iteratively. So what can it do? It can create your project, it can understand your IDE repository, it can do the development stuff like CRUD and all those stuff. It can run terminal operations like run Maven and Gradle commands, execute the test, install packages, fix compilation errors, and one of the very strong capability, it can do the iterative development. For example, as a developer, you code something, you face some compilation error, you fix it, and that is exactly what even Codex do. It codes and sees, oh, there is a compilation error, it fixes in front of you itself that, oh, I'm sorry, I faced this compilation error and I'm going to fix it on my own. So it works just like a developer like you, a mini developer like you. And why does this matter? Why we are covering Codex today? Because earlier developers use AI for suggestions. Now developers assign the task as if there's a junior developer sitting in the system and doing everything. So now write this line to implement this whole feature is what software development has moved to. And now you'd ask me, you have already covered Claude Code, why Codex? Because it is much more cheaper. It is going to cost a very less penny on your pocket. The primary strength of both are different. It's more generic, it is more deep. It is mostly almost same in most of the stuffs. The only stuff that LLM modeling and large context handling is better in Claude. That is already discussed before because it is trained in that way. While refactoring is also very strong for Claude, and code generation was much more faster. When I am going to show you the GPT's Codex, it is going to be very slow. Architectural discussions are also very excellent because this is a generic model, this is a coding specific model, and so on, enterprise scale, reasoning, and production gate. So now when you would use what? If you have less money, go for Codex. If you have good amount of stuff coming on from your organization, always, if the organization gives you all the four models, the Codex models and the Claude Code, always use Claude Code. But when you get stuck, I'll always suggest use both, because many a times I see that Claude hallucinates more than Codex. And even Claude sometimes is not able to fix the end-to-end stuff. If I give them 4 commands, sometimes only 3 is implemented and 1 is left. But ChatGPT takes its own sweet time, understands everything, takes a very good slow time, and then fix everything at the end. So it still, I would usually do the combination of both. I'll try to do everything quickly with Claude and then come to Codex when my things are not done properly and handled with Claude Code. Hey guys, so recently we have launched a very new course on Udemy, that is Spring Security 7. So now we have total of 2 courses, one on the Spring Security, second on the full stack application with all the deployment, pipelines, CI/CD, AWS Cloud, Kubernetes, everything. In Spring Security, we have covered authentication, authorization, filter chains, CRUD types, JWTs, OIDCs, SSO, CSRF, CORS, and very important, we have created here also a full stack project with a front end, back end, and security is implemented using Auth0 and Keycloak. Both of those authorization servers we have defined and created an end-to-end POC in this course. And the next course was on a full stack application where you understand microservices, Angular, JUnits, Docker, Kubernetes, AWS, EKS, RDS, Mongo Atlas, Jenkins, CI/CD, Argo CD, everything. So this makes a complete end-to-end project with front-end, back-end, and security implemented, deployed on the cloud also. Links of both of these courses will be given in the description below. Also, we will try to give some free coupons. Just let us know in the comment section for which course you would need the coupons. We will try to avail the coupons for the courses for free in the next month. Just for a small request, please leave your genuine, honest comments on these courses. That will help us create more such free courses or discounted courses for you guys. So now let's quickly, that's all theory. Let's quickly start and implement the codex. What you need to do? First of all, ChatGPT is giving a free Go account to everybody. So first of all, for 1 year, go and have the Go account for the GPT. Secondly, you go to this gpt.com codex get started. Let me copy this link and paste it here. So what do you see? You have download for whatever. In my Mac, it used to show me the download for Mac. You click onto this, you will see the downloads. In the downloads, you will see your codex installer.exe. You double click on that and an exe will start something like this. Even before you reach into that, there were multiple steps. Let me show those steps to you. So what you need to do is you continue with GPT. And now when you click on continue with GPT, it will ask you to sign in. You click on continue with the account where your Go account is always there. Now you check what type of work you want to do. Then it also asks, do you want to get the work? Basically, it is trying to get the context from another AI apps, for example, Claude. If you would have Gemini also, even Gemini would come as a option here. Now select your items to open. You have these sessions, these projects, these are existing projects. Do you want to open them? I would have skipped it after this because I want to create everything from scratch. I don't want it from the Claude. So I skipped after that and you just follow the steps and you would be able to see such a beautiful interface by by Codex. So if you see here, this is a Codex UI interface given. Now what I'll do is I'll go to File, Open Folder, and onto this I have in my documents a Codex demo. Onto this Codex demo, I selected this folder. So my Codex demo is my working directory now. So it is C users code decode, documents Codex, code decode demo. Now with this, I have a proper project location setup. Now is the task when I want to create a simple user management stuff that I've done with Claude Code also. But now since in the previous video, we have done the prompt engineering. So now it is very important to give a very good prompt to this guy so that he can do and create an enterprise production grade application for us. Now I'll give you an example of how beautifully a prompt can be created for such scenario. So if you remember, you have to first tell your role. So I said you means Codex. You are a senior Java plus Spring Boot architect and backend engineer. Now you will give the task. So your task is to help me build a production grade Spring Boot application iteratively. This is very important because if it creates at the once and then you get into this problem, it's better to do it iteratively. Project, then you give the goal. You need to create a user management system with complete CRUD APIs. This is what we want. Now you give the context, and trust me, context I have given is very big. You can even shorten this out and not give the steps, but I'm giving you an example of a very good prompt. So now important working style. Do not generate entire project at once. Work iteratively. After every step, stop. Wait for confirmation. After every step, compile successfully should be done before you move ahead. Do not move ahead to the next step if your existing code is not compiling. Always explain where file should be created. Always provide complete code for every file change and keep response structure and clean. And this is the tech stack. You need to work with Java 21, Spring Boot 3+, Maven, Spring Web, Validation, Lombok, H2, that is an in-memory database initially, JUnit 5 Mockito, and REST APIs and layered architecture. Architecture should be controller, service, repository, entity, DTO mappers, exception, and config. This is how beautifully you create a MVC architecture. Now your user entity fields should have what all stuff. You may ignore this because you can leave it to him that how he wants to create a user entity. But if it is coming from your requirement from a client that for user I want these all entities, you can give that as a part of prompt and it will follow the prompt religiously. Now you need feature required. What do you need? Create a user, get user by ID, get all user, update user, delete user, basically CRUD operations, validation handling, global exception handling, DTO mapping, unit test cases, controller test cases, HTTP straight test codes, pagination and sorting supported. These 2-3 things are optional. But this is how beautifully you can create a production grade application. Now coding standards, this is to be followed by them. Follow solid principle, use constructor injection only to prevent the cyclic construction dependencies. Use response entities, use proper validation annotation, use meaningful package structure, use Java docs, and apply small and readable methods. Testing requirements, you should use Mockito, MVC, minimum 80% full coverage. This is something where our sonar fails. So you can give all your sonar and all those stuff also to this as a context. And very important, at the end of every step, files, provide the files created, exact terminal commands, expected output, common errors and fixes that it has done, and postment request example and curl example. This will be helpful for us when you are going to test it. Now you can completely ignore the iterative execution plan, which is what I have given as how I create it. I create the project structure with prom.xml, application.yaml, main application class, then dependencies and show the final structure. After this, you wait and ask for my input for entities creation. After that, stop and create the DTOs. After that, create the CRUD operation. Then do the pagination sorting. After that, you do global exception handling. After that, you create the test cases, steps, and now provide a complete postman collection. And after the end of this, after step 8, never skip steps. Never assume files are already created. Never use pseudocode. Always generate production ready code. What are we trying to do here? We are preventing hallucinations. So these rules are a very important part of the good prompt. And at the end, start with step 1 only. And this is how beautifully you can give the prompt. I know this is a very big prompt. You might not need this, but at least you can give the basic structure that you are who, you want what, you want to use what tech stack, and what two coding standards to be followed and what not to do. So these 5 things you for sure have to give. Leave these steps to him. He will decide it on its own. You can completely remove the iteration plan. Now I'm going to copy this whole, go into the codex and paste this. So now when I paste this prompt here and I say, see, this is the default permission. It will take some time to create the files. What you can do, you can give full access. Codex is full access over your computer, elevated risk. Do not do that if it is your office laptop. Only and only if you have your personal laptop, then only do this. Otherwise, go on with the default permissions, no problem. This is my own personal system, so I can continue with full access. Now it is going to set up the workspace with me. How would I see that my workspace is getting set up? By opening that code in my IntelliJ. And there I will show you simultaneously how at each step it is creating the files in real time. And you will see all the magic happening. And I am not going to do any coding, but still all the project will be created at one step into my IntelliJ. And that's where our coding life is going towards. What you had to do? The maximum you had to do is to create this beautiful prompt. And that is why I say the second lecture of this playlist is very important. That is prompt engineering. If you do a good prompt engineering, you will end up with a very beautiful production grade project whose chances of failing on production is very low. And that is where you stand out of the crowd with other people. So let's see how it starts. Okay. Now the workspace is empty. Maven is available. But this is in 11. Since the project targets, I'm going to check whether this is installed elsewhere and use it explicitly for compilation. This is how beautifully, if you would have started creating a project, you would have gone, searched for Java 21 and used that for your project. Now why it is checking for Java 21? Because I was prompt enough to give this in my tech stack that please use Java 21. And this is how religiously he is following my commands. So since there is no Java JDK, so the Java 21 compile would fail right now. To keep the step honest, without changing a system Java, I'm going to use portable JDK inside the workspace if Maven can already see one. Let's see if it actually compiles, otherwise we'll move to Java 11 or we will install it. Now it is going to create all those projects with POM, YAML and everything. So step 1 says intentionally lean, no entity repository in any code yet. Now let's see where this pom.xml is getting created. It is inside Codex demo. So let me open this for you. Let's open. So you see Codex demo. Let me open this for you. So can you see here? It said pom.xml was created. Now it is creating application.yaml. So the skeleton is in place. Before verification, I'm setting the workspace because the system path points to 11. That lets Maven compile with exact target without changing your global setup. So now let's see what happens here. It is running this command, this shell command. And here you can review your changes. So you see here, this is a review tab. You can see what all is changes. So this POM was created, this user management application was created. Let's see where is it created. In SRC, you will see in main, in Java, you will see user management application created. It's exactly like this Spring user management application, right? Beautiful. Then it has even created YAML file. So it will be in the resource folder. So even it has created a beautiful structure for you. Even user management application system was created at 8080. So this is how it has created all those stuff. Now I can close this and let's wait. Running the command for these many seconds. It also tells how many for seconds it is running this. So you see Java 21 is now available locally as .jtk jdk21. I'll ignore the runtime folder for Git and with Java home pointed at all. Now it is resolving and running this Java environment to point to this. So you see it has went into your shell and ran this command with build successful. Passed with Java 21. I will also run the test lifecycle now. So do you see it is trying to set up Java 21 for you in your system? Because I have given the full access, it is able to open the shell. And this is where you have to be very careful because Claude and Codex can sit into a system, open this and do this all. So now step 1 is completed. It has created these files and your structure is also which is getting added here. Now these are the dependencies it has added. And it is asking me to review the code here itself if you want any change. But I would ask him not to do that because I can use and view all this code here in my SRC folder also. So what error it found? The error it found was MVN was not recognized. So it added Maven bin to the directory path. Dependency download failure. So it checked and rerun the Maven clean. Now it stopped there. The step 1 is completed and verified. I'll stop here as requested and confirm when you want me to continue with step 2. So now I'll ask him to continue. And to prevent the time, I would ask him to stop generating the code here. And now proceed. Got it. I'll proceed to step 2 and keep the chat focus on what change and how to run it without dumping the full source code unless you ask for it. Now it says I'm adding the entities, repositories, and verify the startup and compilation and stop again. So now it is creating the ORM framework dependencies for H2 in application.yaml. So now it is changing application.yaml. What I have shown you earlier was very small application.yaml like this. Now it is changing this. And after this editing has been done, you will see the H2 database or the in-memory database structure getting created inside the application.yaml. So now let's wait for this. Now meanwhile, I'll just do Maven clean so that, okay, right now I cannot do the Maven clean because it is being used already by my Codex here. So until it is working on that particular target folder and it is doing some stuff, I cannot do the Maven clean or something. So I need to wait till everything stops and ends, and that is where I will, after that I'll do the Maven clean and run. So now it is proceeding with step 2. The baseline is clear. I'm going to add user JP entity. Then wire H2 in the application.yaml. So let's see application.yaml now. And I can see, so now a lot of stuff has been added for H2 dependencies. So as he said, I am going to modify the application.yaml. It is modified with H2. Now compilation and Maven test is green because it is doing it by its own. You cannot do it because it is going to be modified automatically by Codex. So it is not allowing you to do anything because he is doing work. You cannot do parallel programming onto it. Now it says I added this and verified that application compiles and starts successfully with Spring Boot. What has had it has created user status and user repository. What was added? All these stuff has been added. There was still some errors. Port 8080 was already in use, so it has stopped the process. And it says no curl yet because it does not expose the CRUD endpoint yet. So whatever is changed, these repositories and user data is created. Let's go to entity folder and repository folder to see the change. So yes, entity and repository is exactly the two folders which are changed. So user repository is created and user object is created with all those pre-update column. You have to do all those stuff if you would not have Codex in system. So this is how beautifully it does all those stuff for you. Now let's say continue to next step. Okay. So now on step 3, I'll add DTOs and mappers and service layer implementation and then verify everything compiles before stopping again. Now it will do all those stuff and you sit back and relax. So now can you see DTOs, mappers and service layer are added. I'm compiling now. If anything feels off, I will tighten it before I call the step done. So now it says compilation is green. I'm running the Maven life cycles too. And it says I've added all those stuff. Now it run these commands, does Maven clean, compile and test, and it says build success. So now it says what all things has been added and what are the exact commands with what the expected output. What were the common errors? Again, it was somehow facing that Java 21 error, but then it fixed it automatically. I don't have to do anything. Now if you see DTOs and mappers and service has been added. So let's go to IntelliJ and see, yes, DTOs, mappers and service have been added properly. With proper user service IMPL with abstraction being created, solid principles being followed, a DTO being created with all arg, no arg and builder patterns and user requests being created. So this is how beautifully DTOs are created and entities are created. Please continue. Next. So now if we see our step 1 is created, step 2 is also created, step 3 DTOs is also created. Now it will create the CRUD endpoints and pagination and sorting. So now I think after this you will get some curls. So for step 3, it will say no curls. Step 4 will expose CRUD application APIs. So see how religiously it follows all your commands and your prompt. So that is why I say it is more of the prompt engineering rather than coding now. Now it is continuing step 4 and we will wait for it to stop after step 4. And this is what is called as iterative development. Now it says controller code is in. I am compiling and running the test lifecycle. Maven is green. I'm starting the app briefly and creating the create list, get, update, delete. Basically the CRUD operation is what is getting created. Now it says endpoint reached the delete call and it expect 204 no content after trying to access it again. But it still sees there is some error here. So Spring is still returning 400. So I'm checking the response body instead of guessing. This is exactly why I like doing a smoke toast test here. It catches the annoying edge case before the test bakes in. So how beautifully it is checking all the edge cases for you. So it is also doing a testing apart from just being a developer for your system. Okay, now it says step 4 completed. CRUD controllers are now added with pagination and sorting. So let's go and see whether controllers are now created or not. So see, yes, controller is created. And what we expect, a proper CRUD. Let's go back. It is asking something. It says endpoints have been added for CRUD. Smoke testing has been done. Created is 200, list is 200, get ID is 200, update is 200, delete is 204. A proper response status is what we asked. If you see here, we asked him to give proper HTTP status codes. So because you have given this 11th point, now it is validating those response status code also, HTTP codes also. Added the Java path. It did Maven clean. It did Maven test. It expected output was this. The Postman examples were created. It has given you all the curls. This is the curl for creation. Then similarly, you have updation, deletion, everything. Initially, it got 400 bad requests that I've also shown you. That was because the JSON was malformed. It automatically fixed it. We don't have to do anything here. So now what we can do is, you can start doing the global exception handling. And meanwhile, I can try running this. It says compilation finished, 0 errors, 0 warning. So this is what also Codex told us, that there is no compilation problem, 0 errors and 0 warnings were there. And this is how beautifully it did came across 400 bad requests where it was expecting 200. There were multiple stubs which were coming, but it solves it automatically. And now see how beautiful it has started at localhost 8080. And if you go on the top, you will see what JDK has been used. It is JDK 21 that has been used by him. So this is how beautifully the Java coding agent does everything for you internally. Now let's go and go get those curls. Let me copy this curl. Let me go to Postman and add that. I'm going to import a curl here now and try to send it. See, 201 created. What was this expecting? This was, the create was 201, which is expected. Now list and get by ID and update will have 200 and delete will have 204. So let's copy and test all those curls. Initially, it is 1 Jane Doe with email ID and phone number. And status created and updated. Now it is trying with size 0, page 0 and size 10. And sorting with this in the ascending order. So this is how pagination is also implemented. Now let's try that also. So import a curl and send it. So it says again 200. So the first person that came and what we have added was Jane Dawn. And also if you see, there is a pagination added and also sorting added and offset added. So this is how beautifully pagination and sorting is also done internally by Codex for you. Otherwise, you would have taken one whole sprint to just create the CRUDs, one whole sprint to do pagination and sorting and all those stuff. We have done that in 30 minutes. Now let's try the third one and let's send it. This is going to return, this is just a get endpoint. That's it. So it is the get endpoint with ID 1. The next has been the update endpoint because it is a put endpoint. So it would have been updating with some data. So Jane Doe is now updated with Jane Smith. So see, yes, it has updated the Jane Doe with Jane Smith. Now let's hit and get the first user and see. Yes, now your first name and last name. Your last name has been changed from Jane Doe to Smith. And now let's try hitting the delete one. So import and delete. So it says no content found and now it has been deleted. Now I'll try again with the get endpoint and see is there in the system. It says 500 inter server, it is not there. So this is how beautifully you have all the 4 CRUDs implemented very beautifully. And this is where initially we have stopped our Claude Code demo. I'll try to move ahead with the 5th and 6th steps. It might be a bigger video than that, but it will cover a production grade Spring Boot application, which everybody is asking in the comments, rather than just a very small POC. So now let's wait for the 5th point. What was the 5th point that we were expecting is add global exception handling, add custom exception handling, improve the API handling. And then we will create the JUnits. So do we have JUnits? Let's quickly check. And let's stop this by in the meantime. So if you see here, tests are not created. No service, no controller, no test. So after step 6 and 7, we would have been proper test created. And for 8, we don't need it because the postman is something which we have already tested. So only 2 more steps, 6 and 7, and we will be done with this video. Okay. Meanwhile, I'll ask him to start with the step 6 and 7. And step 7, then only stop. Before that, I'll see what all things have been done by him for the step 5. So exception handling is now in place with custom exceptions done. You will see error response and all those exception user IMPL global exception handler being created, where it is created in exceptions. So let's go here and see there's an exception where there's a global exception handler created with @REST controller device, @exception handler, and all those stuff that you would have taken a lot of time that is created automatically for you. That too with no compilation errors. I cannot see a single compilation error in the system. Also now missing users throws 404. Now when I run that command, it was getting 500 internal server error when there is no user found. Now when the missing user, it is now going to throw 404. Now duplicate email now returns 409. Validations and all those stuff has been with the generic message. So this is the smoke testing that has been done. And these are the curls for testing. And these are the 5 files changed. Now let's continue with 7 and 6, and we will see that a lot of testing has been done. So here in the test class packages, you will see the test getting created now. You see here, the controller user test controller has been created. In the service, a user service has been created and says it created 2 files. So yes, 2 files has been created successfully. It got some exception. The Spring Boot 3.2 still uses mock and mockito bean. It might have had got some exception. So it is now swapping that annotation so that it stays compatible with the selected 3.3 line. So it ran some kind of stuff. It has fixed that issue and it is rerunning the soup. So you see here, it has faced some compilation error. It has fixed it on its own. Now it also runs the test and 20 green test cases has been there. Also, it surfaces usual warning about the page IMPL JSON being unstable. So I'm adding the recommended data web config, adjusting the paginess and assertion accordingly. So now it is editing the user controller test. And since I was here, I got that Codex has done the step 6 and step 7 completed. So let's go back to Codex and see. It has created all those stuff for us. Now let's ask for curls. Now it is asking for the V1 user. Let's try that. So I can see 200, okay. And there is no content to it. And pagination stuff was like this. Now if I try to get the first one, it says initially, if you remember what it used to say, it used to give 500. Now it has done global exception handling and it says a good exception being thrown now. Status is 404. Messages user not found with user ID 1. So this is how beautifully global exception handling is working fine. Now let's go to the code and see whether a test case has been created successfully. So let's try running them. So it's still using JDK 21 and it says all the test cases have been passed. Let's try and run with coverage and see how beautifully it should have given coverage greater than 80. So if you see here, it is 100% covered. So that's how beautifully even the sonar coverage and issues will be fixed by this Codex for you. Now this is where I end this Codex video. And now I hope that I have given you a production grade system with proper prompts, global exception handling, pagination and sorting, everything being done. And I'm going to copy this prompt and you can use this prompt and create this production gate structure for you also. That's all. Thank you so much. If you want this AI series to be continued, you have to let me know in the comment section. Then only I'll continue with this series. Otherwise, I can go back to my interview traps.